Hello, Awifians. Hello, hello. This is Lillian. I hope you are well. I hope you are having an amazing Saturday out there. I hope it's sunny for you as much as it's sunny for us here in Awif. Because today I always say we have amazing guests, but today there is so much joy in my heart. There is so much peace within because we are going to be talking about something that we women of Africa are so afraid of. The African culture doesn't lead us to this kind of maturity, doesn't permit us to go this deep within ourselves. So I'm so thrilled today to have Sarah Jane Farrell with us. But before we continue, I would just like to begin with this quote from Michelangelo. Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. And that's from Michelangelo. The African woman is ready to heal her body, change her mind, and reclaim her full life and happiness. However, going through all this leads to a journey of unpleasant encounters. The encounter of all the blockages that she carries with her as load and responsibilities that many women do carry around the world. Today, our amazing sister, friend, mentor, and coach from South Africa is here to encourage us to face those blockages so we can create huge ripple effects in our lives and the world at large. Without any further ado, let's just start by saying hello to you, Jane, Sarah Jane. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
It's an honor and a privilege to be with you, Lillian, and thank you so much for your incredible tribe. I love what you're creating, and it's time, isn't it? It's really time for women's voices to rise and stand together. So I'm honored, and it's just such a privilege to be with you today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for saying yes, because you're such a busy woman. You are really having so many activities out, and I'm like, is she going to say yes? And you said, of course, I'm going to say yes. And we have already amazing ladies with us today. We have Rita Thomasin, who is a mentor and a coach in Holland, and the sister Susanna. They are here with us saying hi, ladies. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us. What a pleasure jumping on so fast. That brings us joy to our soul. So before we continue, I would like to give you a little bit of information about Sarah Jane Farrell. She's a nervous system specialist and intuitive business life coach who helps everyone from the mom next door to the next big woman thought leaders transform their bodies, business, relationships, and lives through regulating their nervous system so they can heal from adverse childhood experiences, unconscious commitments, and old stories that they can turn trauma into a much more happier life and live really deeply happily fulfilled and abundant life. I love it. How can we manage all of this, Jane? Is this possible?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we spend so much of our life in fight and flight when we're actually safe. And as women, we've come from such a long lineage of persecution, of being shoved down and made to be small and be afraid because we are such powerful medicine women. And I think that's the biggest misabuse of power that's on the planet right here, is that you are not your own story. You are safe. We create our own safety, and together we need eyes on us. I always say to my clients, we're used to waking up with eyes on us. In the old days, we lived in communities, in tribes, in villages that grew us, that grew our children together. And the way that we have been sort of programmed out of trusting that is, we need to come back to have eyes on ourselves, to know that we're bigger than our thoughts, that you are way bigger than your pain, and you're not alone. I think that's the biggest message, is in order to heal this separation sickness, in order to tell our nervous systems that it's okay, that that we are safe, we have to know that we're bigger than our pain. You have to give yourself permission to be you. And then the infinite amounts of results are no longer impossible, right? We've got to stop seeing this from the judgment of our minds. Because if we're at war, yeah, I think if we're at war, which we are all the time, we're at war with this thing, this identification that's outside of us, right? And it's not yours. It's not yours to carry. I love to do a ritual. I'm very fond of rituality because I think that's the anchor, that's the stake that keeps us grounded in our focus of, well, who did I come into this world to become? How can I contribute more? And I love the symbology of the red thread. So when we gather in circle in my retreats and in my workshops, we wind a red thread around our wrist and pass the ball to the next woman who winds around until we're all connected by this beautiful red thread. And the symbology is that even though we cannot see or we don't believe that we are supported or we are seen by other women, you can pull on that thread at any time and your call will be heard, that you will be supported and lifted up when you can't be there for yourself. But your responsibility is only of the piece of thread around your own wrist. So it's it's that untethered life that you're no longer at war with that thing because you have your peace. You have your peace and you can't be with that peace inside of you if your mind is giving your body small doses of fight, flight, freeze energy all the time to be in resistance to itself by being at war with what is not you. It's you. It's just the story, right? It's just the thought. It's just the patterning and the programming that perhaps was passed down through generations, intergenerational trauma. So you have to look for the answer inside, right? And stop being addicted to all the outside influences, because we're all addicted to workaholism and self-approval and manipulation instead of just accessing self-love. And that's a scary place for a lot of women to go because it has been in the right.
I really love your message and your teaching, because to me, I think I am a perfect example. I was born and raised in Africa, and I have this African belief and African culture, which I cherish. And I've been living as long as I lived in Africa. I've been now living in Europe. And I also see the other side that Africa doesn't have. And bringing these two together is costing me a lot. It's costing me relationships. It's costing me my mind sometimes. And yes, there is inner struggle, because sometimes you feel like I don't belong there and I don't belong here. So I'm trying to find my way, navigate through this life, whom I was born, whom I was, and whom I want to become tomorrow. And this is a serious problem because most African women are going through the same. They may be in Africa. The struggle is the same because they want to become something else, something different and something bigger. So how do they go about it? Navigating without, selling, losing their mind or throwing away relationships, yet be the woman that they want to become.
Yeah, that's such a great question, and there's so many layers to it. And firstly, I just want to say how appreciative I am to walk amongst women, because I think we all have Mother Africa in us. I was born and bred in Zimbabwe. I consider myself a barefoot African woman that has her piece to carry, and I think this is just it's in that collective consciousness of all women, regardless of where we're living demographically. There is this separation to the Great Mother, to Mother Africa, to Mother Earth, and I believe that we're here to be the bridge, what I call borderland. We're beyond border. We are wanderers, right? We're all connected, and yet we feel lost in the separation of borders. So for me, it's just like we are a collective family and there are no borders. And yet the world doesn't show us that. The world doesn't show us that because we're living from this frightened part. So to try and answer your question in a short way, because I could talk about this forever, it really comes, and this is the depth of my work is in root cause resolution. It's getting back to the roots, like a tree. If your roots are not deeply rooted in fertile soil, when the wind comes, so I love the saying that you are what you love, not what loves you. So if you're not tending, if you're not looking at what is the part in me that is so deeply afraid right now and giving it a voice, we can't know how to love ourselves. So if you just go to your childhood, it often stems from our paternal and maternal, our primary caregivers, and how they showed up in love. And let's face it, a lot of women in Africa are being grown by women that are not their mothers because of the endemic.
Yes, I'm happy someone else is saying it. It's not me alone. I'm happy someone. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So we learn how to love by what loves us because of this childhood belief that if I don't do things or show up in a certain way, and I'm talking to the grown women that we are that still have wounded child parts, that think we're going to be judged if we don't go into overgiving or people pleasing or giving ourselves up or muting our voices. Instead of just looking at how can I love myself in the parts that are afraid. So great question. And if you've got a pen and paper, you're taking notes today. One of the questions I love to ask myself and my clients is, what is trying to emerge out of me? Because the old story is just a story. It's like beliefs. I don't believe that we have limiting beliefs. I believe that the belief existed at a time when it wasn't safe for us to speak out, or there was no safety. And in Maslow's theory, this is where you cannot go into the next sort of hierarchy of needs if your basic foundational structure isn't strong, if your roots are not strong, if you do not have your essential components of warmth and love and tribe and that and food in your stomach, you can't get to that next level of actually the pleasure parts or the contribution parts because you're scared. You're stuck in this in that I am afraid, which is not you. Yes. You are just love in this moment. And only when you get that's why this internal work is so important. And you can't often find a place of secure attachment on your own. We need each other. We need mentors and coaches.
We need each other. That is why this is what this platform is all about. We need each other. We cannot do it alone.
And then we can stop going.
Sorry, I'm listening. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I think we have a delay on the line. Sorry, I didn't catch the.
No, you were speaking. I think I cut you.
Yeah, I just say in love in the moment of loving that you're afraid, speaking to the part of you that is afraid, and stop trying to resist or move through grief. Give grief a voice, give hurt a voice, but know that you're not the hurt. You're the one that is hurting. You are not the thought. You are the one that is thinking the thoughts and feeling the feelings. And you can't heal what you don't feel. So we have to slow things down in order to create that container of safety, to know that this is exactly where I need to be and love that. Stop trying to rush through it, because society and the way that we're living, isn't it true, Lillian, that we're not given the luxury, which is actually a necessity, right? Our nervous system needs to feel it first. So you can't get over there. You can't get over there. We always think the grass is greener, that there's somewhere else we have to be, that we're not enough yet. But you're here now, in the thoughts, in the fear. And things happen if you just stay there, in the fear of that letting yourself feel it on a somatic body level in the physical.
Yeah.
You can't think your
Yeah.
way to abundance. You can't think yourself out of being afraid if you're afraid. And
Yeah.
yet we want things to, we think that the expectation is that unless you've defined or thought the way you expect change to be, then you can only create that thing from the limitation of your mind. And that's why we get stuck in this perpetuating cycle of feeling I'm stuck, I'm blocked. What if you're not stuck? What if that's the moment of pause where you've been resisting and avoiding feeling it? Because so many women misidentify feeling as something to be afraid of, rather than the intensity of feeling everything, even though I'm... Because you're not terrified. The you that knows is not terrified and afraid. The you that you are is love. But the child in you is terrified of what will happen if I don't get it right.
Yes.
What will happen if I don't show up? What will happen if I am not being the good girl? Based on this judgment that you have made true, the pattern that you keep repeating, that actually pre-disqualifies you, doesn't it? Because you've already decided you're not worthy and you're not enough, and that you'll never get over this, or that you should be over this already. It's not very kind. It's actually, right? It's self-abuse.
Yeah.
And we're really...
When you think about it, it's not, the more you think about it, it's not kind. I must acknowledge there's Christina online, and she's saying, hi, I don't know why the comments are not coming up. And Sarah Jane, please just, it's good for you to know, Christina really gave a lovely témoignage on your behalf on how she has worked with you and had so many great results. So it's good to know, it's good to have comments like this, and I hope it serves many other African women as well, or many women around the world. I mean, the world is large, you know. Let's go wide, because we need each other. So your work is to help people find deep and true happiness in their lives, in all aspects of lives. With your experience, is the African woman sufficiently happy? Is she really happy? Because we give this image of happiness.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah. Again, you're asking amazing, great questions, because we're always, again, looking at happiness as something that we have to get out there. That I won't be deeply happy until I lose the weight, or I won't be happy until I find a man that adores me, or I won't be happy until I get the promotion, or I have, X amount of money in the bank. And those are the addictions. We're addicted to the pain of the not having. It's like, when were you last deeply happy with yourself? When were you last happy?
Last time was just today, cleaning my garden.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is that we believe that happiness is out there. It's like love is out there. And I think there's another beautiful saying that I remind myself of often, in that people don't break your heart. They don't break your heart, they break your expectations.
Yes. So I've never heard of this saying, but now that you make it so clear, yes, it's the expectations. Yes.
Yeah. So we actually pre-disqualify ourselves from allowing ourselves to feel anything. Most women are walking around numbed out and disassociated on some level, because we define ourselves as not worthy of being happy. So it's not very kind. It's pretty screwed up, actually, because we're judging ourselves out of allowing ourselves to be happy. And a lot of this is protective. It's a defensive mechanism that we set up pre-7-year-old, right? Because we believe that if I get to choose to make myself unhappy, then nobody else gets to hurt me. So it's pretty messed up. But that really is, we need to get out of our own way. And I think that's what women like you and women in our communities, having a voice, giving a voice to this, giving a voice to the grief, to the anger, to the places where we are depressed. I always say depression is a gift. I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing if I hadn't been highly sensitive and labeled as, functional autistic as a child, and bipolar later on in life, because I wasn't Nobody understood that the gift was going deep down, that it was okay to be afraid. It was okay to feel the sadness in the collective unity consciousness that is very afraid, that is very much in grieving right now. So, you know, I think we ignore the child parts that's saying I'm afraid. Then the other thoughts are not important enough to sit with them because we're thinking happiness needs to be outside or love is outside of us. So you have to be willing to love, to give a voice to those feelings rather than rushing through it. We have to feel, like I said, we have to feel in order to heal. We have to be able to sit with that thing and give it a voice. Let it reach you. And then those feelings can come up. We can't ignore pain. We can't ignore grief. We can't ignore happiness, but we're not even willing to have a little happiness, or we'll only have a little dose. Yeah. Because if we have too much, it's the same as money. You know, the energy of money is a very high vibrational frequency. I believe women, we don't want money for things. We want money as a resource because we are mothers. Mothers. Yes. And if we're not willing to mother the child inside of us that needs to be loved, and we won't allow ourselves to have the money and the resources to actually go and support women doing what they're doing and stand for the things that matter. I don't want to go into deep, dark Africa and teach women how to breastfeed their children, but I'm willing to have the resources by doing my work well, to send money to those people that can do that job better than I could.
Yes. Okay, but this is complicated. Now you're making my head spin. This is complicated because I get you, but this is where I stand. Me or somebody else, you know, this African woman who has to go back to this childhood, go back to my, to my roots and ask myself, what is it that's missing inside? All that I need is within me. This is not the culture. You know, people wake up in the morning and they have to go, you know. We just have to keep going with the flow. There is no time. There is not really time that people sit down with themselves to ask these questions. So how can the African woman learn from your teaching so that she can become unstoppable in her entrepreneurial endeavors despite the odds? Because here we have great odds. I can tell you, if I have to go back to my childhood, there's going to be tears here. So how can I still be unstoppable despite the odds that are against me?
Yeah, I get the brilliant questions that keep us stuck in the limitation of I identified that time is more important than me. This comes back to the self-honoring of that. If I show up in a place of pushing pause, life is going to continue with or without you. So there's this idea or presumption that time is more valuable than me. So you just give proof to the limitations when you are honoring the fear that I'm running out of time. I don't have time for this. And we as mothers know that when we give ourselves that time for a pause, we are better mothers because we are mothering ourselves. So you know, you can reach anything when you allow the fear, when you allow yourself to have story and have a power in the parable. This is what campfires were like in the old days. You'd go out, the men would go hunting, the women would gather the crops, and at night you would come and we would sit around a campfire, we would sit around a fire, and we would integrate the day. We would learn the lessons from our story. Not in the way that we're doing story now about ourselves, that we're not worthy of time, that we are not worthy of enough, that it wouldn't work, or that make time bigger than you, and you dishonor you that knows you're worthy of taking a time out. You know, we're told as children, aren't we, that a timeout would mean instant death. It would mean punishment, being cast out. Would be death. To actually give us space that time is an illusion. We get to choose, and this is where strong boundaries, this is where doing the inner work, this is where witty like this is the integrate and make meaning of the things that we're afraid of us and give them a voice. Luxury, it's a necessity, because depression, separation, and loneliness and anxiety and obesity, all to numb down the feeling of what we're really afraid of, what's causing us to create more separation and more misery in our world. And I want my child to grow up knowing that she gets and she gets to stand in her strong boundaries and have a voice and the confidence and the clarity to honor the words to speak.
Great. Now, you answered this question a little bit at the beginning. However, I'll bring you back to it because it's part of what AWIF stands for, but it's so important for the African woman. It's good to stand in your voice. It's good to honor, that feeling inside. However, does financial freedom leads to happiness?
What do you know about that?
A lot.
Yeah. Because again, it's a very loaded question where we give, instead of saying, and so here's a great question, because I love questions. I think questions are not about coming to a right or wrong or yes or no answer. And of course, the reality of it right now is that we're living in a fear and scarcity and poverty mindset globally.
Yes.
The world, the banking is breaking down, governments are breaking down. Because the ninth wave of truth telling. And if you cannot receive you as your most valuable asset, how can people show up and pay you? So again, it's back to that old paradigm of identifying that money is greater than you, that you are defined as successful when you have the money, when you have the car, when you have the house, when actually a lot of those things you become the eternal jailer of, because they're making them bigger than you. So again, I think for you to understand your value, you have to go deep down into knowing in your body and ask your heart what is really true in your heart to be abundant.
Great.
Because it's a
great.
lot.
I love that.
Good. I sometimes I wonder if I make sense. So, and sometimes
you make sense. Sometimes we are breaking, and you're like, "Oh my God, okay, maybe I shouldn't ask her the next question because she's gonna tell me again. She's gonna set me right." You're making lots of sense.
Yeah. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to look at that because the reality around us is not safe. It's not safe to have money. So where are you hiding money from you? Remember, how does money come to us? How does money find us? Well, it finds us through other people. So connection is my number one currency. You cannot expect to have money find you if you're not willing to be seen. Living in are getting killed over cell phones, and I have spoken to great grandmothers and being killed over a phone or 100 home from work. That's not a right to me. So the financial trauma is coming from this place of it is not safe to have money. So we hide money. This is what I see a lot in conversation because money is just an energy you're receiving. I always say you don't have a money problem. You have a receive problem. So if it's not safe in your mind, maybe you were 5 years old and you got tuck money. You got given money from your parents to go and buy something at the school tuck shop, and you lost the money. Or maybe and stole your lunch money. Your little running your life from a place of poverty consciousness now is the child at 5 who is shaming herself because perhaps by her parents to say, "Oh, you are so careless," or "Oh, you can't be with money," or your experience of being bullied taken away from you is running you from a fight, flight, freeze response of, okay, it's better not to have money because if I don't be safe, and your environment, especially in this behind 6-foot fences and on guards, because we have to protect our things, people are going to take them away, is often we will lose money. We will make money go away. So, there may be people in this conversation that can relate to, I make great money, but I can't hold money. I can't keep money with me because it's not safe. So those are the people that get money and they pay Paul, right? Get money from Peter, pay Paul. Can't have money with them. They hide money and then they can't remember where they put it. Because at the back of their minds, it's running that I can't be trusted, or it's not safe to have money because if I have it, someone will take it from me. This is why people that have poverty consciousness, where you're not healing at the level of the nervous system, pre-7-year-old, where we created all these stories and made things like money bigger than us, like perfection, where we're another addiction, or workaholism, wherever those are. Brene Brown says it very, very well. Wherever there's perfection, some kind of addiction, I would add, there's always shame lurking.
Yes.
I get shame. Right? So you to listen to what makes you feel abundant and fulfilled. Be full of yourself. At 6, when you stopped singing because someone said, "Oh, you're so full of yourself," in a derogatory way.
Yeah.
Right? Or don't take more than your fair share. That's kind of like saying to, an apple tree,
don't
hold on to your apple. Hold on to your apples because you're never going to make apples again. Or hold on to your leaves. Or you need to stop breathing at lunchtime because you can't take more than your fair share. The abundant nature of the universe tells us we live in an abundant reality. And yet we have put this thinking mind into working against us, saying, no, you don't. Hold on to what you have. And if your hands are full of shit, excuse my language, you can't let it go and make great fertilizer to make sure that your next so that you have more. It's a made up words and that the world is
we are breaking. We are breaking.
Yeah. So, I just like to say, if you've got shit happening, turn it into the fertilizer, because people pay great money for good fertilizer, and stop putting yourself under the crap. This is where the mind goes into addiction to understanding. If I don't understand this, then I will never have freedom. I will never be happy. And I always kind of go, why would you want to stand? Because that's what understanding is. Why would I want to stand underneath my shit? And why would I be under the expectation that in order to be loved, I need to get under someone else's pile of shit? Because
okay.
So seriously. So, I like to bring some humor in.
No, but it makes so much sense. When you explain it, it makes so much sense, which is, thank you for all the clarification. It makes, now that you say, use the word understanding, why would I want to stand under somebody else? That is a great point. I never thought about it in that light.
Small.
That's amazing.
They're such a good person. Instead of actually shining light, because you have infinite wisdom and give that you came into the world to give, only you. There's one of you. Nobody has your gifts or talents or capacities. Nobody's going to show up the way that you do. But you would rather dim your light for fear, abandonment, rejection, persecution, ancestral trauma, than actually say, it stops with me. I stand for this and I'm rising up, because when I give other women and stand in their light, because lack of shining planet. Just because the sun is can't receive a light, and yet women cut each other. Fear of, well, if I make you great, then I can't be as great. Rather than looking at that collective power and potency of the warrior women that says, let's rise up together, because in numbers we have more strength and we can go so much apart. That's what I stand for. And you can see I get pretty. I'm tired of seeing
really active and energized about it. Yeah. That's great. I'm really so happy to have crossed your path, because there is so much positivity and energy and sharing and abundance. We were all created, in abundance. Why do we go into these limiting beliefs? You really have tells me there is something deeper beneath. You spoke about depression. You spoke about so many other issues. How did that lead you to where you are today?
With a lot of, how did it lead me where I am today? I stopped spiritually bypassing the pain. I have a big story, but again, I wouldn't be here talking to you if I hadn't had women that saw me in the highest version and the greatness of who I was. Not the broken into a tiny million pieces when I literally had a breakdown. There were women that reminded me all the way, and it's in the constant daily work. I still am anxious. I still have days wherein I am in deep depression, and I feel my sadness, and I feel the sadness of the collective. I allow myself to push pause, but it is a constant practice. It's what I call the training. You can't abundance. You actually have to do some work, but it's about not rushing. I had a choice, as probably many of us have, and why I do the work that I do is I don't want other women to have to go through some of the stuff that I went through. That's not up to me, because we get it when we get it. And sometimes the only way through, go down, right? We have to go into the desert alone. No one can take that away from us. No one can do that for us. So I think accountability, commitment to self, to doing the work, to going deep down, staying with it is the only way. And we get to choose. We can choose to be the participant, the active participant in our life, or we can get to be the spectator. See, that is not serving you, and it's not serving people that are willing out there that are waiting for, and you cannot do that. You can quit. Yes, you can. But at the end of the day, I had a choice. It was, do I choose to live? Do I choose to die? Because your body will make you. And for me, my healing, I don't like to call it a healing crisis. It looked that way. I had an inoperable brain, and I was told, pack your bags. You actually don't have bipolar. You have a brain tumor that's pushing on your brainstem, and you don't have the time thing. And I had to pull myself toward myself, and I spent a year in a mental hospital, hiding my shame, hiding in my fear of what had just come through my life. I'd lost my business. I'd been liquidated. I was bankrupt. I lost everything I knew as my life. And I could have stayed down there. But if I hadn't gone through all of that, as we each do go through our own personal challenges and messy experiments, we don't go through all of that to not use it. That's the gift. You know, we're given that divine gift by God, or, you know, the universe, for that exact reason, that is what I came into this world to experience, so that I could impart the wisdom and the knowledge of what I know to be true for me, so that you can take the pieces that are true for you and find your own way.
Yes.
That's what, and stop this place where we're subconsciously self-sabotaging, putting these obstacles and blocks up and seeing them as a curse. You know, even our own menstrual cycles, so many women are against the feminine, of not being able to appreciate that we are in synchronicity with Mother Moon, that we are fertile in our womb of the very word woman, that we are here to plant seeds for other generations through our work, through our words, through our painting, through our creative aspect, and then now in the way that we birth children. And we can't see it because patterns and stories and blind spots are keeping us in. So we can't receive from this. And so we stop showing up, and we kill our creative energy. We kill the very essence of what it means to stand in the divine feminine and celebrate our woman, the womb that holds us all. That's the contains us. We're that space of embodiment. And when we integrate the head and the heart, that's when things become and effortless and abundant. That's where
great.
You know, that's where I get results from my clients, is healing at the level of the nervous system by looking at all the parts of you that you've been ignoring to keep you safe in the reward or the punishment. There's something that you love about what you're creating. So, you know, if you're not liking the results you're getting today, look at the actions that you took yesterday. You can't keep doing the same over and over again and expecting a different result. You have to be accountable. You have to take responsibility. The very word response is movement into the deserving to show up and be of greater service than I was yesterday. That is what deserving means. Has nothing to do with your value or worth. You can't play. You're scared you're going to lose something. And most of the time, we're not willing to be happy because we think, oh my God, this isn't going to last. I'm going to lose this happiness. When you can't lose yourself. You never go away. You, the loving, joyful you, the expression of you that came through the womb into this world to have this physical experience, it never stopped loving you. You stopped loving you the minute you got into your head and you abandoned the child. You abandoned the child that knew she was loved. And it's time to come back to the heart. Come back to the heart. You are love. Start loving you again.
Wow. You are going to bring me to tears, but I promise you one thing, I'll find my way there.
Tears of joy. You know, that's something else, Lillian, that I think is maybe you can relate to that. You know, it's like I always used to be so tough on the outside. You know, you weren't allowed to cry. You weren't allowed to cry. You know those moments when you're kind of going, and we hold it in. Your body holds that tension. Your body never lies. The body eventually says no, which is why adverse childhood experience is so close to my heart. And part of the work is that was, I'll give you something to cry about. That was my narcissistic alcoholic father. Oh, I'll give you something to cry about. So we learn to hold back our tears. And guess what? When we cry inward, that's your pneumonia, that's your respiratory problems, that's the asthma that we see in our children. That's
fibroid, holding back fibroid. I learned at so late after my 30s that everything I've been holding back is the cause of my fibroids. I'm saying it here so everybody should hear it. I don't care. Holding back so many things cost me and it's costing me fibroids. So that's you're right.
That's the breast cancer. That's the reproductive issues. I am afraid to create. Right? I am afraid to be nurtured and love myself. That's why I'm seeing more and more breast cancers and chronic illness in men around femininity, divine feminine, because men are so disconnected from love, because men are taught to love by doing things for their mothers. Interesting. You know, the women in Africa, they were left to mother the children while the men went off to work. Who mothered the men? Who mothered the men?
Yeah.
When they were those little boys that went off to work in the mines, that left their families as children. Where was the mother?
Yeah.
It's time to heal a mother wound in our men so that we can tell them as women that they can stop. They can stop killing. They can stop cutting down the trees. We have enough. That's our responsibility as women, right?
Yeah. Well, we will get there. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. I would really like you to continue to nurture us, to educate us. Do you have any freebie that you can share with us? Do you have any something that people can start, getting to know you better, to know you more, and maybe call you for if they need your coaching? For sure, I know that if we are in South Africa, you should come with us. But do you have any freebie in the meantime that you could share with our audience?
Thank you for asking. And absolutely, it's just like I lead with generosity because we have more where it comes from. So there are plenty of ways that people can get in touch with me. And I have a lot of amazing resources available on my various channels. We've had a 28-day active appreciation challenge running. It's my birthday tomorrow. I get to celebrate 51 years around the sun. And in my gratitude back, I've been running a 28-day active appreciation challenge on Facebook, and you can access that via YouTube and go through each one of the lessons. They're very powerful, and it's the foundation work. And I would encourage everyone that's listening to this, if there was one piece that resonated with you today, go onto my website. There is a personality quiz based on Chinese elements of the 5 elements, that everything is a feeding cycle. Get to start to know who you are. Get to start knowing who you are, how you tick. There's plenty of personality profiles out there. I use Enneagram. I use Myers-Briggs. I use these because it gives us a deeper understanding of who we are intrinsically, so we can stop fighting against ourselves, right? That's your autoimmune diseases. That's where we're literally attacking ourselves from the inside. So you can take the personality quiz there, and you'll get a huge resource of information on how you can start using the things that you're making yourself wrong for, the shadow, right? The blind spot, where you're saying, oh God, yes, that's me, but I wish it wasn't. So you're welcome to go take the 5-element quiz there. And there's also a link to take the adverse childhood experience quiz. Again, it's like, find out how high your ACEs are. Because when you understand that where you are and what you're feeling is not your fault, that you're not broken, that there's nothing to fix, then you can start working on rising up out of that and using this as resilience. So if you take the adverse childhood experience quiz on my page, you'll get a series of information and meditations and resources to strengthen your resilience. Who you are. So there's plenty of ways, and I'll give you those links. I think you have it. accessyourtruenature.com.
Yes, I'm going to put everything in the comment box below. Is your birthday coming up soon?
Tomorrow.
Whoa, because I have a message from Blessing Ekem Elim, which says, whoa, happy birthday in advance, and thanks for the resource you have shared. Happy birthday. So happy birthday. We now know tomorrow is your day.
Tomorrow is
happy
my birthday
in advance.
What a beautiful gift that I get to be with you today, Lillian, and your beautiful tribe. And I look forward to meeting you in person. I know we're going to be putting on an event very soon for women in Africa to stand and rise, sister, rise, because it's time. So I look forward to and collaborating with you more in the future, and stay in touch. And thank you so much for you and what you're creating here. It's a beautiful
Thank you so much for your time. However, before you go, Share with us, please. I have one person. Anne saying, sorry, I missed this. Anne, you can catch the replay. Thank you so much for joining. That's really kind of you. I think Anne is in the US, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I have a problem. And comments, I cannot see the comments, but what is your one daily routine that leads you to a place of mental and financial stability?
I start every day in rituality of remembering my red thread, that I am just a piece of the tapestry that we're weaving together. And I spend time in the morning journaling in my morning pages, asking my business, asking my body what it requires of me to be better than I was the day before. And I do that religiously, so whether that's meditation, whether that is journaling, that's kind of how I anchor in to my day, to remember who I am, and also to remember when I can't get out of bed in the morning for myself, what I stand for in the greater web of things, that I stand for the women in Africa that are planting seeds so that I can send money for the seed foundation, that I get out of bed for the animals that matter to me, the great sentients, the elephants, the lions that are disappearing from Africa. And I tap into that.
Which association in Africa do you support? Which do you have for the women? You are making me.
Yeah, I have a few, but they're local initiatives. I can post you some of the links, but I'm just completely grateful for the people that show up and pay me for my services, because I get to pay it forward. Energy circulation, money likes to move, and I really, there's so many that are close to my heart. We have a drive going with sanitary pads for young women in schools in Africa at the moment. And of course, I'm always giving money back to my animal charities and shelters and people that are on the ground protecting rhinos and the elephants in Kenya, Sheldrake Society in Zimbabwe. There's so many great initiatives. So if I was going to say,
how does the one with the sanitary pad works in South Africa? So people should know, because I know about how does it work? How does one get involved with that?
Yeah, how reach out. I always say start in your own communities. I think so many of these charities, the big ones, they get all the money. And I'm interested in women that are not being seen, that are doing incredible work on the ground that people don't know. So I would say ask questions. Start in your own backyard. Find out. I've got another amazing client, Lynn Deckers, who has she's proudly South African. Her garments are stitched by hand by amazingly incredible warrior women that are single-handedly supporting about 50 people in their families. And
could we talk to her? Could you link us with her? Could you link us with her?
Yeah, absolutely. Please. But her initiative is that if she comes in and clears out your wardrobe so that you get aligned with your authentic style, the things that you don't want anymore go back into what we call new beginnings. So she started a new beginnings fund for women that are needing to go back into the workforce and don't have the clothes to look the part to get the job at the interview. So there's so many amazing local women that I support, because I really stand behind seeing the women that have no voice. I was thinking, looking at the big stuff, look in your own backyard. There are people everywhere doing incredible, incredible things, and I want to give them a voice. So start there,
thank you.
Start in your schools, start in the schools where if there's bullying going on, go and speak to those women. Go and speak to the parents of those children, because I think when we heal the child in the adult, we are better parents for our children.
Yes. Anne says yes, she's in the US. Yes, Anne is in the US. Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us. Sarah Jane, I could keep you forever, but I know you've got to go. And I know and I trust we are going to see each other very soon.
We are. And
thank you so much.
You're in my heart, and I send great love and great blessings. And I thank you for you, Lillian, and for what you're doing. I love you.
I
Mwah.
love you too. Thank you so much, dear. Let's talk soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I came at the right moment.